So, what do you have for me today? This. Oh dear, you realize what this is, don't you? I do. Why on earth would you have me review this one? You spent a lot of money on this. Don't you think I know that? It's because a lot of people requested it via our Twitter account. People, plural. 2 people, yes? Just 2? That's still multiple persons. Who was it? Mike Case and Retro's Nostalgic Nerd. But we did get a lot of likes. Really? No. But we're relatively new to the platform. Pitiful. Well, I don't think it's wise we look at this one. You may not like what we learn. Hey, how about you're my assistant and you do what I say? That's cute. You know, Mike and Retro both have supportive assistants that enhance their channels. Not to mention they both have Hollywood hair, long, flowing, blonde. And I get you, Governor Swan's uglier twin sister. I'll do it. Not because you're telling me to, but because you clearly need all the help you can get. And that was a pretty good burn, too. So, Patrick WAPNER'S court is now in session. Was that a haiku? Not even close. Welcome to the 4th official assembly of Patrick WAPNER'S court. Remember, and I can't express this enough today, this is the only Transformers review forum on YouTube where an unbiased, real-world technical specification is established by means of a mock trial. The burden of proof will be examined here in this video to provide you, the court of public opinion, the most objective look possible at the figure on hand. For a tutorial pertaining to the system that's used henceforth, herein, who cares? Please refer to the walkthrough video in the description below. I, of course, am your presiding official over such matters today, the Honorable Judge Patrick WAPNER, and today we'll be reviewing case number 060617, otherwise known as Omnigonix OX01 and Done Spinout. I really want to love this figure. It's in my hands under the pretense that I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I have an anxious feeling about how it's going to turn out, and with that, I submit to you the following evidence for consideration. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about the packaging here because I've got so much other things to cover in this review. No flashy box art and no focus. The box does its job, but in underwhelming fashion, much like Pringles do in the chip world. In a bit of figure foreshadowing, there are 3 things I'm going to highlight before moving on. For starters, not one promotional shot of this toy on the packaging, or in any official capacity that I could find, showed the figure from an overhead view. It's as if they knew they had an issue, but were trying to hide it from the best detectives in the world. The freaking brilliant internet. Second, the main vehicle mode photo is poorly focused. It's not that big of a deal, but I actually take umbrage with this because it shows a lack of pride in the product from the start. Also, take a look at this photo. The background material was a very poor choice as the detail of accessories are lost, and the engine block is off-center from the car center line. That's an OCD thing on my part, but I soon realized it's not unique to this photograph, which makes it bad. In a normal consumer world, the packaging is what sold your product. But today, in the FBI world, it renders this aspect of capitalism nearly irrelevant. Oh, and the instructions were kind enough to point out something far worse. Really? Just some poses? Liars! But otherwise, a few point knocks for the box for jocks with pox. Apparently. And welcome to the second best feature of this figure. Sculpt-wise, this is a stunningly clean representation of Sunstreaker. It looks tough and sleek from most angles, and isn't littered with too many distracting panel lines or anything that would otherwise out this Lambo look-alike Transformer. But the hood is where it's most obvious. The front end of the car is a bit boring with the pronounced but largely bland chin spoiler. But like most department stores and Sir Mix-a-Lot videos, All the good stuff is in the back. The design of the engine blowers and the A double money sign end look pretty hot. But said intakes sit crooked. And the axle has a bit of the dropsies. But other than that, the alt mode holds together extremely well. Which is remarkable considering, well, everything not the alt mode. The errant paint streaks in the taillights, random paint chips, globs, and painfully obvious mismatched yellows around the car, especially on the left and right sides of the hood, drag all the goodwill this figure garners on quick glance down quickly. Finally, we're going to talk about a topic that's going to be a recurring theme throughout this trial. The wheels. The car doesn't roll very well at all because the non-dangler wheel is resistant. And the vehicle floor pan drags like an old dog dragging his butt on the carpet. The solid silver porthole ventless rims are Bush League, and oh, this may be nitpicky, but I have to highlight this now. The front wheels stick out further than the wheel wells, and they're wider than the rear wheels. On a Lambo, there's no excuse for this! This is where I start to get disappointed, frustrated, sad, and furious with this figure all wrapped into one. The legs are basic and nothing amazing happens. I like the thigh flaps to cover the thigh gaps, and they look pretty clean considering, but there's nothing clicky or satisfying about the whole process. I literally dreaded this portion of Discovery. The transformation is inventive and would have been a ton of fun had basically any of the tolerances, materials, design, all of it been any good. I really love the ideas behind the whole torso and how the back comes together, but it rarely works reliably. The mess of flimsy slides, hinges, pivots, and black plastic make for a miserable experience. The necessity of jamming this thin flap up into the back is awful and is uncomfortable. It reminds me of trying to re-roll the toilet paper back up into the dispenser in a restaurant bathroom after giving it the old unsuccessful zip and rip. Oh, and the whole blower neck clavicle head nonsense is a janky collection of bad decisions on a flimsy stick. Like microwave corn dogs at 4 a.m. after 8 rounds of cranberry vodka. Nobody wins there, and I actually get very ragey with this part. Trying to get everything positioned, while not impossible, is darn near it and therefore unacceptable. The final connection at the chest is worthless. Absolute garbage. And don't get me started on the process of returning this back to a vehicle. And before anyone thinks I'm not doing this right, I offer this rebuttal. If I'm not doing it right, it's the figure's fault for being so terribly built, not my incompetence. The process should never be so finicky where you want to pull out your fingernails with pliers and pour jalapeno juice on the wounds. There are flashes of genius in here, concepts that look like they could have been fun, but these concepts are let down by so many faults that we're left with a transformation that's as fun as wiping a hemorrhoid with a belt sander for 20 minutes. That was 2 toilet jokes in one category. I wonder why. Maybe it's because I'm handling a urine-colored pile of shit. If you thought the transformation was frustratingly disappointing, then you'll be extra frustrated with this robot mode. Full of frustrations and just... The only redeeming factor that Omnigonix Spinout receives here That fly will die by the end of the night, I promise you. The only redeeming factor that Omnigonix Spinout achieves, and I use that term very loosely, is that Spinout achieves the Sunstreaker look without employing fake parts, and has minimal kibble. Like one of the cleanest overall use of vehicle components that I've seen in recent memory, which is why this figure is so gam-dogging frustrating. But there's so much wrong here that it really is shocking. I was perplexed. I couldn't believe it. Rather than stretch this out, here's the robot rundown. The new yellows exposed here don't match the vehicle, and in 3 separate shades. Nothing clicks together and stays together like it's supposed to, supposedly. Panels come separated where pins or screws are theoretically supposed to hold it together. Pieces will just randomly fall off or disassemble. His head sits way too far forward in the aforementioned necular area, which in itself is utter rubbish if you try to adjust it by any means, including telekinesis. which doesn't exist, I think. The whole assembly will crumble. The knees are literally the worst knees I've ever seen, which the figure makes no effort to conceal. They're not knees! The joints are looser than... The thing can't hold a decent pose to save its life, and the thing is so fragile that I'm even afraid to just like... Okay guys, confession time. It was actually at this very moment in the preparation of this trial that I flat out did not want to keep writing the script for this. I grew more and more angry with how many problems this figure actually has that it became laborious and tedious writing about them all. You'd think I'd have been salivating to rip a bad figure apart with witty jokes and clever commentary. But you have to remember, I legitimately thought it couldn't have been this bad. But I just wanted to quit. I couldn't take it anymore. And I never once thought about this happening. I had no idea how to handle it. So, I only did what any self-respecting blue or white-collar worker would do in the land of the free. I persevered. I showed leadership. I showed determination. I pressed onward for a greater tomorrow. I hated my life and went back to work at a job that makes me want to jump off a bridge into Mexico City traffic. So, I was gonna say something here, but I got nothing. It sucks. It sucks that bad. Plain and simple. Okay. 1 point because it didn't break or snap on transformation right out of the box. Yet? But that's it. Nothing else. And I literally tried. I was being as objective as I possibly could. And it still sucks. Welcome to St. Suckville, Omni Suckfest Suckstreaker. Population suck?
Boo! You suck!
I know. Spinout fits in scale perfectly with the Masterpiece line from Takara. There is no argument here. But where there could be an argument is whether it fits aesthetically with the Masterpiece line. Its fit, finish, and cheaper toy design choices bring it down a couple pegs, but I need to stay consistent here. If I'm going to induct Wei Zhang's All C into the Masterpiece aesthetic, this belongs there too. Enter a lesson about tolerance and acceptance here. And it fits in Prime's trailer too, if you care about that sort of thing. Can you guys keep it secret? I don't. Spinout looks good with the Masterpiece crew, so long as he isn't playing the role of their sloppy alcoholic friend who still hasn't figured out that he can't handle Taco Tuesday tequila hour. Here he is with some better toys. And here he is with some other terrible ones. There's no visible robot bits exposed in this mode, at least one's not used unsuccessfully. The shoulder pauldrons hang out behind the engine to great effect. They look like boosters, and they make me happy in the right ways. Forget I said that. But alas, there's no place to store the weapons or accessories included with this set. Not even a Hasbro-inspired body peg hole. Funny how you miss those ugly panel pimples when there's a lack of storage options for your weapons. Interestingly enough, this figure is so clean in the kibble category that it's basically the only thing that sold me on the figure in the first place. When comparing it to the likes of Bad Cube Sun Surge, or essentially most other Transformers on the market, it's a winner. I mean, wasn't the whole Masterpiece Megatron debate centered around how well the back cleaned up? Even though a figure would rarely or ever be displayed with its back facing out, it still matters. And it matters so much here because this is an extremely rare case where the back looks better than the front. If you ignore the calves. The Warriors sure did. You know, for a figure at this price point, and with the game stepped up by Takara and other third-party companies, you'd think that they would have included something a little bit more. The weapons and widgets included in this set are limited, and bland, and boring. I shouldn't have two modifiers, that's bad writing. I mean, the gun does the job, I guess. And the paint is okay, but I'm giving it some slack here. But it's still just blah. And the other gun thing is even worse. I don't know where it goes. The instructions don't tell me where it goes. And I don't care. And the second head thing that was included, it only adjusts the size and shape of the ears. I feel like this is a missed opportunity here to, add some extra spice to the figure. Maybe changing his face would have changed my face, or my attitude, even just a little bit, but probably not. Most definitely not. Articulation. Good start. No. No, I'm not counting this because it does... I can't turn it without holding in the chest. Yes. 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 Really well done. No. Yes. Yes. Only one way. You gotta go all the way around if you want it to pose here. Because once you get past the click, nope. Yes. 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 But this isn't a knee either, so this just no points. Yes. Yes. No. What? Is it a playable figure? I don't know. I guess if you're lucky enough, you can get the Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas look going, if you're into that sort of thing. And the wheels and wipers fall off without warning, so that's a neat feature. Not. Listen, I'm not going to pile on this figure any more than I already have. It's clear that this figure's not any good. But there is a story behind it. There are pages and pages of information on the development of this figure behind the scenes. I firmly believe the designer had the best intentions, and in fact had a good design. But like I said earlier, there is a good figure buried under all of this nastiness. It doesn't even really need a major overhaul, but I feel like the right refinement from the right manufacturer, the right designer, we would actually be looking at the champion of the Sunstreaker third-party party. But as it stands right now, or more often than not doesn't, this figure falls short in so many ways that the designer must be heartbroken. I know I would be if I had spent a lot of time and money and effort and thought into a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to create a one-off Transformer for the community, only to watch it crash and burn so fantastically. Excuse me a moment. It's bothering me. Yeah, the best way to handle this? This was not a money grab attempt to cash in on sucker collectors. This was an honest attempt by a fan to put out a figure who ended up getting thoroughly screwed and had to release what was already produced in order to make some of his cost back. I totally get that, and thus I can't in good conscience give this section anything less than I did. And enough with emotions and the feels. Back to bashing. I mean business. When this figure first came out, retailers were charging $100 per figure. Then many immediately dropped their prices to around a range of $70 when they realized the quality was this poor. So good on them, but it still left a figure out there for many people to discover on their own. The cheapest I ever personally saw this figure go for online was $45 during a flash sale by one of the big guys. I ended up taking a chance here, hoping that there was going to be a better figure than the reviews had suggested. I thought, perhaps I'll get lucky. Nope. I was dead wrong. I can tell you that this score is reflective of the price of $70 that I paid for the figure, which is highway robbery. Again, I'm glad I got to see it firsthand, in person. And there are some good things in here, namely the back, and moderate to good customizers could make a pretty good figure out of this if they had the time. Nope. But this is the worst kind of figure to buy. One that you hope against hope that there's a good enough figure in here to hold a vacant spot in your collection. But then you start to feel sick to your stomach for the money paid on what you're about to see. As the R in Wapner would suggest, it is ruling time. And you know, I'd be curious to see if any of you have been following the scores along to this point to kind of figure out in your own head where you think this was going to fall. I was doing that myself along the way, and it fell in the range I thought it was. It came in a little higher than I thought it could have, but I also thought that the score is fair in that we didn't overkill it for the things it did wrong, but it also gets the points for the things it did right. That being said, it's not going to save it. The final ruling for Omnigonix Spinout here is going to be 42%. Now, that is the lowest score that we've ever given on this channel. Granted, we don't have many so far. And I kind of think to myself, what else out there could possibly be lower than this? I could speculate, but I won't know until I get there, if I ever get there. But it's always fun to think about. I'm going to guess that this is a record that's not going to be broken for a long time, and that's okay because I don't want to be wasting money on figures like this anymore. And now you might be thinking, what is he going to do with a figure at 42%? It just so happens I've got the answer. Coming up next. Boom! The sentence. It is now sentencing time. I don't know if there's a whole lot I can do for this one. Most of the components in the figure are worthless to a customizer. Part of me takes no joy in this. The other part of me is so excited. I knew that this was a possibility, but I wasn't really thinking it was going to be that bad. I really wanted to save it from this fate. Many of you are probably thinking, get to it already! Stop stalling! Now that it's come to this, I look at this figure as an investment in this channel. So for the very first time, officially, in the Patrick WAPNER'S court, I am delivering the sentence of death. And how, you may ask? Why Spinout, of course. Definitely the smell of plastic death. let this be a reminder to all future figures that are put on trial on this show. I'm not afraid to make the hard decision, and I'll be able to sleep at night. And I'll bury you in your own box. You've been warned. And with that, my friends, Patrick WAPNER'S court is now adjourned. I cannot believe you just did that. You said it yourself in the intro. I spent a lot of money on this figure. Sorry, mate. I'm just doing the job you created me to do. You're right. I'm sorry. Man, I just wish this figure wasn't so bad. I personally liked his look and transformation complexity better than Bad Cube Sun Surge, and I still want him in my collection for some stupid reason. I want to buy him again. What? No! You've got to be kidding me! What was the point in this whole review process if you're just going to undermine my decision? I think I can fix him. I really do. There's a good figure in here somewhere. I just know it. I don't want to give up on him yet. Please? He's not like a bad-for-you fixer-upper boyfriend that your parents hate. Sometimes you have to let go and move on to other men. I'll let that homophobic joke slide. And I get that. It's just, collecting is just too hard these days. And that's why I bought Sun Surge 2. What? Are you insane? What is wrong with you? I couldn't help myself. I needed a Sunstreaker in my collection. You're going about this all wrong. You're moving too fast. You just bought one that you're not sure about, and now you're on the verge of buying a second known craptastic Spinout that you won't have time to fix because life. Where does this madness end? I don't know. I mean, when you put it like that, maybe you were right before. Maybe I do need therapy. Whatever, probably. Hey, speaking of crazy, did you hear that Takara recently announced MP39, or Masterpiece Sunstreaker? He looks good. Son of a